evening, everybody. I'm going to present the topic of the component of an experimental method plan. An experimental method discussion have for topic generally participants, materials, procedures, and measures. To ask the question of the experimental design, we must analyze the participants, the random selection, the method used, the dependent variable or variables, the measured, the treatment condition, the experimental research design, what instrument, the steps in the procedures, the internal and external validity, the pilot test, the statistics, and how will the results be interpreted.
Participant really need to know about the selection, assignment, and the number of the participants who will take part in an experiment. Tips when writing the method section for an experiment. The first is describe the participant selection process as random or not random. Research can select the participant by random selection. Also, the research might use naturally assigned or voluntary groups. And when individuals are not randomly assigned, this procedure is called a quiz experiment. The second is when individuals can be randomly assigned into groups. It is a true experiment. These procedures eliminates the possibility of systematic difference between the characteristic of the participant that could affect the result.
Identify other features in the experimental design that will systematically control the variables that might influence the outcome. One approach is squaring the groups so that participation in one group or the other does not influence the outcome. And the next point is talk about the number of participants in each group and also the procedures to determine the size of each group. This process involves 1. A consideration of the level of statistical significance, 2. The amount of power desired in the study, and 3. The expected differences in the means between control and experimental groups. And the other point is that researchers set values for the 3 factors mentioned before, and they can also look up in a table the size needed for each group.
Variables divided in 2 types. The first one, the independent variables, must contain a treatment variable that received the experimental manipulation from the researcher. A measure variable, where no manipulation occurs. This means, for example, the aptitude or the personal characteristics of the participants. And lastly, an statistically controlled variable, for example, the ethnography, the gender, or the age of the participants. Then we have the dependent variables that are influenced by the independent treatment. Rosenthal and Rosno give us 3 prototypic outcome measures. The first one, the direction of the observed change. The second one, the amount of this change. And lastly, the third one, the ease with which the participant change.